What's up, everyone? Today we're going to talk about the Michigan football team. So for anyone that's been following college football this year, Michigan is pretty damn good. They're 8-0 on the season. They have the number 1 scoring defense and the number 10 scoring offense. They're outscoring opponents 325-47 through 8 games. They haven't had a single game closer than 24 points, and they currently have the best odds of any team in the country when it comes to the college football playoff national championship. They're ahead of Georgia, Florida State, and Ohio State. But there's now this black cloud hanging over their entire season because Michigan is being investigated for running an illegal sign-stealing operation that could potentially date back all the way to 2021. So today I'm going to explain exactly what's happening and what might happen because of this. But let's start with the obvious. What exactly is going on? The easiest way to explain what's going on at Michigan is that they have a sign-stealing scandal. And what's being accused is a low-level coach at Michigan, an analyst named Connor Stalions, who joined the Michigan football team in 2022 after graduating from the Naval Academy in 2017 and serving in the U.S. Marine Corps from 2017 to 2022. Connor Stalions is being accused of spearheading a program that led to the sign-stealing of signals in person at other teams' games. So essentially what's being reported from the Washington Post is that an investigative firm discovered a computer and found evidence that Michigan was running a sign-stealing operation where Connor Stalions would either attend games himself or pay other people to go to games. He would sit on the sidelines of these games and use his phone or a video device to record the other team's signal callers. So if you watch college football, you see there's 3 signal callers on every sideline. 2 of them are dummy signal callers, and 1 of them is telling the players the plays on the field. Connor Stalions, or whoever he sent to the game, was recording them. Connor Stalions would then go back to his dorm room or wherever he lived, decipher the signs, then he would stand next to the offensive and defensive coordinator at Michigan during games and help tell them when he thought he knew what play was going to be coming. So this included games at Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, and Nebraska. And Michigan scouts were even seen recording the signal of future opponents on the sideline. Now, one of the things to keep in mind here is that Connor Stalions makes just $55,000 a year. His salary is public knowledge given Michigan's status in the NCAA today. So he makes $55,000 a year. And these reports are stipulating that they were spending more than $15,000 to attend 40-plus college football games in a single calendar year. Obviously, Connor Stalions can not only afford that himself, but he has to enlist other people to help him if he's coaching on Saturdays as well. Now, one of the things to keep in mind here is that sometimes this can backfire on the team. Michigan played TCU in the college football playoff last year, and TCU was told ahead of time by other schools that Michigan was really good and ran, and I quote, one of the most elaborate sign-stealing operations in the history of the world. So what did TCU do? They disguised some of their signals, and they led them to believe that there was these dummy play calls, right? So maybe they did a sign that used to mean something else and now it meant another thing. They ended up hanging 51 points on Michigan and beating them to advance to the college football playoff national championship. So there's a few different things to look out for here. One, if these accusations are true, Michigan would be breaking 2 rules. Number 1, a rule from the NCAA is that you cannot do off-campus in-person scouting of future opponents in the same season. That's prohibited. You cannot go to another school's game in the same season and recruit them or scout them. Number 2, any attempt to record, either through audio or video devices, those signals by an opposing player, coach, or other team personnel is also prohibited. So not only can you not go to another team's game and watch them in person that same season of a school that you're going to be playing, but you cannot record them through audio or video means. You cannot record the coaches. So I want to be super clear about this. If what they're saying is true and these accusations are true, Jim Harbaugh saying he had no idea, but if they're true, it's certainly a big deal. They're breaking the rules that other schools are supposed to be following. Now, Jim Harbaugh says he didn't know, and maybe he didn't know. I find it hard to believe that he didn't know about this elaborate scheme that was going on under his nose. He's known for having a meticulous attention to detail when it comes to his players and his staff. I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't know something like that. But if he really didn't know, it's because he didn't want to know. And to me, that's just as worse. But the other thing to keep in mind here is that these rules are somewhat outdated. For example, if you look at the sign stealing of in-person scouting, right? So the rule was established in 1994. And the basis for this rule was the idea that other schools couldn't afford to send scouts or coaches to the other schools to scout them in person during the same season. It wasn't done because of sign stealing. Sign stealing has really only popped up over the last 15 or 20 years because up-tempo offenses have become a thing. If you think about, offenses in the 1980s or 1990s, everyone got in a huddle. This wasn't a thing, right? You got in the huddle, you told the play call, no one was worried about stealing steins because those weren't really a thing. The coach would just relay it to the quarterback or the defensive player on the other side of the ball. But as up-tempo offenses became a thing in the early 2000s, and obviously over the last 15 or 20 years, sign stealing has become much more rampant throughout college football. I have this quote here from Houston Nutt, who used to work under Jimmy Johnson at Oklahoma State in the early 1980s. He said, "When I worked for Jimmy Johnson at Oklahoma State, when they had a game on Saturday, I was at the next opponent. I was scouting the next game." Now look, this rule was obviously established with good intent. If both schools cannot afford to send scouts to scout the other school, you should just send copies of game film and not allow those scouts to go to the other school. 100% agree that that is with good intent. But if you look at the college football landscape today, things have changed drastically. One of my favorite examples is Georgia. They have an $80 million football facility. $80 million, but they're playing schools like UT Martin and Ball State to lead off the year. That's obviously not fair. And Georgia's not a school that I'm just trying to pick on. This goes across the board. If you want to look at other SEC schools, if you want to look at USC, other schools like that, this is obviously not fair in the spirit of competition, and there's a bunch of other things outside of just scouting in person that the NCAA should be worried about. So maybe the NCAA ends up throwing the book at Jim Harbaugh. There's a lot of things that they can do, and this is illegal. What they're being accused of doing is illegal. But the better question is, what can the NCAA actually do? Number one, they could ban, suspend, or punish Jim Harbaugh, but he could just leave to go to the NFL, right? He's had success with the 49ers in the NFL. He won a Coach of the Year award, and he even went to a Super Bowl. There's a bunch of NFL teams that would take him not only as the head coach, but certainly as an assistant. So if the NCAA decides to punish him, ban him, or suspend him, he could just go to the NFL. But furthermore, NIL, name, image, and likeness, has completely changed the repertoire or the ammunition that the NCAA has when it comes to punishment. And I'll explain. Two of the things that the NCAA loves to do is they love to reduce scholarships and they love to hurt you from a recruitment standpoint, not allow you to have as many in-person visits on campus, not allow you to do as much from a recruiting standpoint. But now with NIL in play, those things are drastically diminished, right? Scholarships are less important, and certainly recruiting is less important when a booster can come in and just offer them a huge bag of NIL money to come play for their school. Oh, and don't forget, the NCAA notoriously takes forever to hand down punishments. In fact, Jim Harbaugh is currently being investigated still for a recruiting violation, a low-level recruiting violation from years prior, and that is not expected to be completed until at least 2024. So there's no way that the NCAA is going to finish their investigation within the next couple of months before the college football playoff. Most likely it's going to happen next year or even the following year because the NCAA notoriously takes forever. But the last thing that I want to leave you guys with is an idea around what this could mean for the future of college football. And the idea is around technology. If you look at football today, over the last 20 to 25 years, technology has increased a lot at virtually all levels of football, except college football. Take the NFL, for instance. Not only do players get handed tablets immediately when they leave the field to watch film of the previous drive, but two of the players on the field, one on offense and one on defense, have a green dot on their helmet. If you don't watch a lot of NFL, look for it the next time you watch it. They have a green dot on their helmet. And what that means is that player has one-way radio communication from the coaches to their helmet. There's literally a radio in their helmet, a speaker, that allows them to hear the coach. So in a lot of instances, not only will the coach tell them a play call to relay to the rest of the team, but he'll give them advice. One of the quotes here is from David Shaw. He was the head coach at Stanford University from 2011 to 2012, but he also coached for the Baltimore Ravens from 2002 to 2005. He said, "I know what it feels like not just to call the play, but to also say, watch out for the corner blitz, and then call the play. It's invaluable." So you may say, hey, Joe, why hasn't this trickled down from the NFL to college football? They've had it for nearly 2 decades now. This should be a thing in college football. And you're absolutely right. I think this is one of the things that is actually going to change from this scandal. The reality is that college coaches around the country have been trying to get one-way radio communication headsets in their players for several years now. But the excuse has always been that college football programs couldn't afford it. And that may have been true 10 or maybe even 20 years ago, but it's certainly not true today. The average FBS football program brings in $20 million per year, and they can certainly afford a one-way communication headset. It costs a few $1,000s a year. And even if you're worried about the helmets not being guaranteed from a warranty perspective because of changing them, get new helmets. It's a minor expense for some of the biggest college football programs in the country. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry today. Sports betting has obviously become much more popular too. And the ability to steal signs is directly impacting the legitimacy and the competitive fairness of these games. So if I had to zoom out and look 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road, this is something that I think is going to change. And I don't want to pretend like I know all here, right? This is something that is actively being tested by the NCAA. This bowl season, teams are going to be allowed one-way radio communication to their player, one player on each sideline, if both teams agree before the game to allow it. So to be determined if they want to change up things, especially for high-level bowl games, you probably don't want to change the system. But this is good for the players too, right? If you're a quarterback and you go to the NFL and you're already used to getting play calls into your headset and relaying with the rest of the players, that's a good thing. They don't have to teach you how to do that. They're not worried about that. You have experience doing this. So I think it's something that is good all around. I think the NCAA should look to implement it immediately. And at the end of the day, whether Michigan gets punished or not, that's good for the game of football at the college level. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave me a comment, tell me what I did good, what I can do better, and I hope to see you back later this week.